Welcome to OddSpec Karting. Today we are looking at George Russell's karting years, how a King's Lynn driver went from British karting champion to Formu. Before the 7 world titles, before Mercedes, before Formula 1, there was a karting track in Cambridge and a kid who was visibly faster than everyone else. Lewis Hamilton started karting at age 8, and by 10 his father Anthony had approached Ron Dennis at an awards dinner and asked him to sign Lewis on a piece of paper. That piece of paper led to a McLaren Junior contract. The karting years built everything: the car control, the wet weather brilliance, the racecraft in traffic. His ability to carry impossible corner speed in the wet, still his signature today, was developed entirely in karts. If you ever needed proof that karting is the foundation of greatness, Lewis Hamilton is it. Trophy Ayrton Senna arrived in Britain in 1977 as a relatively unknown Brazilian teenager with one goal: to become world karting champion. He came agonizingly close multiple times, and the experience of racing in Britain, learning fullback, PFI, rower in all conditions, shaped the driver who would go on to win 3 F1 World Championships. Senna's karting style was already distinctive, devastating in the wet, absolutely committed at the limit, and technically precise in a way that amazed his competitors. Fellow karters from that era describe him as already seeming like he was operating on a different level. The foundation was built on circuits just like the ones you race on. Raincloud Hash before Benetton, before Ferrari, before 7 World Championships, Michael Schumacher was racing karts in Kerpen, Germany, at a circuit his father managed. He started at age 4 on a kart his father built from spare parts. By his early teens he was already winning national titles and attracting serious attention. What stood out wasn't just speed, it was his methodical approach to setup and his willingness to work harder than anyone else in the paddock. The work ethic that made him a legend in F1 was forged in karting. He treated every session as data, every lap as an opportunity to learn. The habits of the great start exactly where yours do. Large red circle Max Verstappen sat in a kart for the first time at age 4. His feet barely reached the pedals. His father Jose, a former F1 driver, ran his karting career with an intensity that was remarkable even by the standards of a sport full of dedicated parents. Max was racing competitively at 7, winning European titles by his early teens, and was signed by Red Bull's junior program before he'd ever driven a single-seater. The technical intelligence Max shows in F1, his ability to feel exactly what the car is doing and adjust instantly, was developed in karts. Jose has spoken about deliberately placing Max in difficult situations in karting to build resilience. The preparation was extraordinary. The results were inevitable. Lynn, this is the question I get asked most often, and it deserves a thoroughly honest answer. Full cost-benefit analysis of karting as a hobby: financial cost, £4,500 to £7,000 per active racing year at club level. Physical benefits: improved cardiovascular fitness, sustained racing HR of 160-180 BPM, enhanced reaction time, neck and upper body strength, proprioception. Mental benefits: stress relief, focus, competitive outlet, problem solving through setup. Social benefits: genuine friendships built around shared passion. The karting community is uniquely welcoming. MY verdict: on a pure cost-hour basis it's expensive. On a well-being, personal development and pure enjoyment basis, I've never found better value. Thought balloon Jenson Button was British karting champion at 16 years old, a result that led directly to his car racing career and eventually to a Formula 1 World Championship with Brawn GP in 2009. What's fascinating about Jenson's karting style is how clearly it predicted his F1 character: smooth, tire-preserving, devastatingly consistent over long stints. He was never the outright fastest karter in a single lap, but he was almost impossible to beat over a race distance. His wet weather performances were exceptional, a thread that ran through his entire career. British karting produced a world champion. The circuits he learned his craft on are the same ones many of you race on today. United Kingdom: Charles Leclerc grew up in Monaco, the same streets that host the most famous race in the world, and started karting at age 8. His early karting career was shaped by a difficult reality: his family had limited financial resources and his father Hervé worked multiple jobs to fund Charles's racing. The support of Jules Bianchi, who became Charles' godfather figure, was critical in those early years. Leclerc's karting style was aggressive and confident from the start, with a natural understanding of rear-end feel that has made him one of the most spectacular qualifying drivers in F1. When you watch him on the limit at Monaco or Baku, you're watching a driver whose instincts were sharpened in karts on a financial shoestring. The talent was always there. Large red circle Lando Norris was the dominant force in British karting in his age group, winning multiple national titles before stepping into car racing at 14. What made him stand out wasn't just raw speed but his adaptability, able to win in wet conditions, on different tyre compounds, and on circuits he'd never seen before. McLaren's junior scouts identified him early precisely because of this versatility. His karting coach at the time described him as coachable in a way that's genuinely rare, able to take feedback and implement it immediately within the same session. The combination of natural talent and the ability to learn quickly is what accelerates careers. Norris is a product of British karting and a brilliant example of what this sport can produce. Kimi Räikkönen is famously a man of few words, but in a kart, he always said everything that needed saying. He dominated Finnish karting as a teenager, won European titles, and was signed by the Sauber F1 team at 21, having barely raced in cars. The speed was immediately obvious. What the karting years gave Räikkönen specifically was an extraordinary sensitivity to rear grip, a feel so precise that he could consistently push a car to the absolute limit without crossing it. His 2007 World Championship with Ferrari, snatched on the final lap of the final race, was the product of a career built on that instinctive feel. It started in karts in Finland. The quiet focus was always there. Fernando Alonso started karting at age 3, his father José Luis built him a kart from spare parts. By 9 he was Spanish karting champion. By his early teens he was winning European titles and attracting the attention of Flavio Briatore, who signed him to Renault's junior program. What defined Alonso in karts, and what has defined him throughout his career, is an almost frightening level of competitive intensity combined with exceptional racecraft under pressure. He doesn't just want to go fast. That competitive hunger, honed in karts from the age of 3, has sustained a career spanning 3 decades and multiple F1 World Championship challenges. At 40+, he's still one of the fastest drivers on the grid. The kart's built something that doesn't fade. Spanish George Russell is from Kings Lynn in Norfolk, not the most obvious starting point for an F1 career. He started karting at 7 and was British karting champion before stepping into cars. What made Russell stand out in karting wasn't outright single-lap pace but his extraordinary consistency, lap after lap after lap within a very tight window. That consistency, which has become his trademark in F1, was identified as his defining characteristic by karting coaches when he was 12 years old. His performances in uncompetitive machinery at Williams, consistently extracting more from the car than it had any right to give, made him one of the most talked about young drivers in the sport. The consistency that impressed in karts at Kings Lynn eventually impressed the entire F1 paddock. Glowing Star Daytona Milton Keynes operates one of the best outdoor karting circuits in the UK, a proper competition layout with well-maintained surfaces and a challenging mix of corner types. For competitive club racing here, the circuit has very specific fast lap requirements. Key corners, the long sweeping right, the most important corner on the layout and the one that divides the field most clearly. It's a long, constant radius right that rewards a geometric apex with full commitment. Any lift mid-corner costs significant time, the exit is fast and leads onto a long straight. The tight hairpin complex, at the opposite end of the circuit from the sweeper. Patience is critical, the exit of the final hairpin in the complex leads onto a medium straight. Get the last exit right and sacrifice the earlier elements to do it. Setup, well-maintained smooth surface, medium to hard rear axle. Standard to slightly higher tyre pressures. Racing car hash Alain Prost was nicknamed the Professor for good reason. His approach to racing was analytical and strategic in a way that was genuinely ahead of its time. His karting career in France in the early 1970s was where that cerebral approach first emerged. While other drivers were pushing as hard as possible on every lap, Prost was already calculating, managing tyres, conserving the machinery, looking for the optimal moment to attack rather than simply attacking all the time. 4 world championships followed. His rivalry with Senna, 2 completely different expressions of karting-developed instinct, is the most famous in F1 history. Prost's style proved that intelligence applied to racing is as valuable as raw speed. The karts taught him to think. Nigel Mansell's road to Formula One is one of the great stories of sheer determination in motorsport. He sold his house to fund his racing, faced setbacks that would have ended most careers, and was told repeatedly that he didn't have what it took. His karting and early racing years were characterized by an absolute refusal to accept that result. The 1992 F1 World Championship, won with a record-breaking number of victories, was the culmination of a career built entirely on willpower and competitive intensity. Mansell's driving style was aggressive, committed and occasionally over the limit, qualities that karting either reveals or removes in drivers. In Mansell's case, karting revealed a competitive hunger that F1 ultimately couldn't contain. The Lionheart was always there. Lion Valentino Rossi is the greatest MotoGP rider of all time, 9 world championships, an era-defining career. But there's a parallel universe where he became a Formula One driver instead. Rossi has tested F1 cars multiple times and shown genuine pace. His karting experience, though secondary to his motorcycle career, revealed a natural four-wheel feel that surprised everyone who worked with him. His Ferrari F1 test at Fiorano in 2004 produced times that were competitive with Schumacher's benchmarks. The natural gift for finding the limit and the competitive intensity that made him a MotoGP legend was built on 2 wheels, but the skills translate. Watching Rossi in a kart is a reminder that great racing instincts don't care what they're applied to. Motorcycle returning to karting after a significant break requires a structured, sensible approach. Here's the safe return to speed protocol. Session 1, whatever the brake length, 70% maximum pace only. The goal is familiarity, not lap times. Spend the session rebuilding your reference points from scratch, don't rely on memory from before the break. Physical consideration, your body adapts to the G-forces over multiple sessions. Neck and arm fatigue will be greater after a break. Plan for 2 to 3 shorter sessions rather than one long one. Session 2, increase to 85% if Session 1 felt comfortable. Add deliberate practice of your weakest areas. Session 3 onward, progressive return to full pace. Only push for a representative lap time when your reference points feel locked and consistent. Mental reset, don't compare your current pace to your pre-break best. That comparison creates pressure that inhibits learning. Back with left arrow above. Every generation of F1 champions starts somewhere, and right now, on karting circuits across the UK, the next generation is being forged. The British karting scene has produced Hamilton, Button, Russell and Norris in successive generations. The talent pipeline is as strong as it's ever been. The names at the top of current British karting rankings are worth paying attention to. What separates the ones who make it isn't always the fastest single lap, it's the ones who combine speed with coachability, consistency and the mental resilience to handle setbacks. The champions of the 2030s are racing karts right now. Some of them might be on the same circuit as you. That's what makes this sport extraordinary. Before the 7 world titles, before Mercedes, before Formula One, there was a karting track in Cambridge and a kid who was visibly faster than everyone else. Lewis Hamilton started karting at age 8, and by 10 his father Anthony had approached Ron Dennis at an awards dinner and asked him to sign Lewis on a piece of paper. So what is your take on George Russell's karting years, how a King's Lynn driver went from British karting champion to Formu? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read every single one. And if this helped, share it with a fellow karter. That is all from OddSpec Karting. Hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss our karting content. For more, head to oddspecdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on track.